Joining me now, Conservative leadership candidate Erin O'Toole. Good to have you back on the show.
Great to be back.
Thanks for accepting my Twitter invitation after watching the video late last night. What's behind the video? What are you actually trying to say with it?
We're using humor, obviously, to get my name and my brand and discussion about the Conservative race out to more people. There's lots of talk about how many candidates there are in the race, some of the more controversial statements. We're trying to make sure people know that I'm putting out some good policy, some great ideas, and sometimes using humor is like a hook, and you get people in and you drive home the message afterwards. So
you're trying to get attention.
We're trying to get a bit of satire in this race. We do find it works well, and the first episode was well received. The second one, some people love it, some people hate it, but it has generated some discussion.
My thing when I watched it was the suggestion that even satirically, that the media are somehow in cahoots with the Liberal Party to get Kevin O'Leary chosen. Do you see any risks to that at this time? We're in a sensitive time. We have a president who believes in alternative facts, who hates the media.
We're using satire, and I don't have the budget 22 minutes has, and we're doing it on a shoestring, but we're trying to point out the fact that Mr. O'Leary, throughout his history, including being on the media, including his time on CBC, has been generally Liberal in most of his positions on things. He donated to the Liberals in my own riding, Rosie. And so we're trying to point this out because certainly because of his own media presence, he can saturate the airways. So we're finding that humor actually lets us get the question out there. But it is set up as a spoof of House of Cards with top secret memos, these sorts of things. It is set up as a spoof, and it's generating some discussion, and that's kind of the goal.
Okay, so you don't think it would ever be taken seriously, or anyone would have issues with you trying to present an alternate view of things, a conspiracy theory or something like that?
I don't think so. If you watch the first episode, it was about the Prime Minister's tour of Tim Hortons and reaching out to Canadians, and even polls coming in this week show that most people saw that it was a PR campaign, and that's what the video pointed out. So this is a 1-minute video trying to point out that Mr. O'Leary's telling Conservatives he's now a Conservative, but his donation history, his statements on a whole range of issues show he's a Liberal. So the joke is, who do the Liberals want to win this Conservative leadership candidate contest? Kevin O'Leary, and that's kind of the joke premise. And so it's generating some buzz, including on Twitter.
Okay, but obviously you feel some sensitivity towards the attention that Kevin O'Leary is getting. Is that fair?
Well, look,
do you think he's getting too much media attention?
I think he's getting more than a lot of candidates, including myself, putting out some really serious policy ideas. So in the last 2 weeks, I've written for Bell Let's Talk, I wrote an op-ed on suicide. Last week, I wrote on the Quebec attacks. So I'm putting forward some really serious policy, some thoughts. But we're also mixing it up. We're using humor. We're not really attacking anyone, or we're putting out ideas there to run a contrary narrative to what Mr. O'Leary is coming in saying, I'm going to take over this race. We're trying to say you have to show your bona fides as a Conservative first. That's the point of it. Satire can sometimes be effective. Yeah,
but what do you think he needs to do then to be more serious, a more serious candidate, or to be competitive with you? If you think he's getting a bit of a free ride right now,
I think he has to answer all the questions. And in fact, the Liberals will have tens of thousands of hours of his various commentary on radio, on television, including CBC, and where he has supported a carbon tax, where he has said sort of derogatory statements on military, those sorts of things. Now that he's running to lead our party, my point is you can't hide as sort of a Liberal running for the Conservative leadership. And this video has a lot more people looking into what we're saying and then sort of saying, okay, my background in the military, in cabinet, as a Conservative, I'm trying to contrast on a shoestring budget. So some people think the production's a little low, but I don't have, say, 22 minutes budget to do this. But it is getting a bit of buzz, and it's then letting me pivot to some of my ideas in this campaign.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the ideas that you feel maybe aren't getting a fair shake. Is there something out there that is going to help a Conservative leader deal with the new administration in the United States? Because that's one of the things Kevin O'Leary is saying. I'm going to be the guy to go up against Donald Trump. I'm a business guy too. What would you do in the face of the new administration?
Well, certainly I worked on trade between Canada and the U.S. in the private sector for one of the largest American companies in the world for many years, and that gave me experience on manufacturing, exporting from Canada, from Southern Ontario into the United States. having served alongside the Americans in our Canadian Armed Forces, much like our minister now, that allows you to build relationships within Washington. So amongst the field of the Conservative leadership, there's no one actually that can go to Washington and secure good outcomes for Canada.
Well, like Kevin O'Leary says he can. He says he knows everybody down there.
Well, I think he's
on American television all the time.
He certainly has a celebrity presence, absolutely, and that's kind of the point of the video. But if you look at terms of who can relate to not just the White House, but people in Congress on a state level, having worked for a company based out of Ohio, for instance, served with the U.S. Navy, for instance, and having met Senator McCain and other people in the past. When I went down as Minister of Veterans Affairs, I knew the Secretary of Veterans Affairs in the Obama cabinet because I'd worked with him. Sure. So these are about relationships. The Americans are our best friend, biggest trading partner, and greatest ally, but we can still fight for Canadian interests at the same time.
What are you doing to convince people you'd be a good second or third choice? Because these ranked ballots are going to be difficult. They're difficult to campaign with. What do you tell people?
It's a long race. I've got tremendous support in caucus, almost the most MPs supporting me and more to come. I just announced the Nova Scotia PC leader following the debate in Halifax on the weekend. He's supporting me, more to come this week. I also have amazing organizers, Rosie, from coast to coast. Tremendous support in my own province and in BC, for example, in Atlantic Canada. I want to make sure I fight for every first choice. But if I don't get that, I'm happy to say I'll be your second, and I'm respectful of my caucus colleagues in this. I talk about our team. We've got an amazing team of MPs, 99 again once we get the by-elections done, I hope. And that's part of it. The leader is one MP that has to work with the entire team to move forward.
Do you think that if Kevin O'Leary were to win, it would be damaging for the party?
I think a lot of our grassroots are concerned, and the more they find out his past positions in support of the carbon tax, or even in Halifax, he wouldn't refute that position. He was kind of silent on it. His statements just a month and a half ago on foreign affairs and peacekeeping in the military, that was quite dismissive of, say, the people that served in Afghanistan. The more our grassroots hear about that, the more concerns they have. So I think you have to be conservative, essentially, to run for the Conservative leadership. That was the point of my House of Trudeau Volume 2. And
I get that, but if we are to take you seriously and take Kevin O'Leary seriously, because we must, there is a President Trump now, why not be more serious about it?
You know what? This video is allowing me to also talk about some of the amazing policies I have. I have a policy for millennials called Generation Kickstart that I've received a bit of commentary from on my tour, but I haven't been able to talk to you about it. Now I'm saying a Generation Kickstart will get rid of the job churn that Mr. Trudeau is leaving a generation with. There's a lot of information on my website, erinO'Toole.ca. We're also taking ideas, Rosie, for Volume 3. So if your listeners, whether they liked House of Trudeau 1 or 2, send me your ideas for version 3.
But this isn't you not taking Kevin O'Leary seriously, is it?
Look, I've met with Kevin. We agree on some fiscal issues, on the private sector in particular, and some of the problems my province, Ontario, is having. We disagree. He donated to the Liberals in my own riding, for goodness sake, when I was working with our grassroots. So I'm challenging him on other issues, particularly the military, because I served in that. A lot of veterans are concerned about him. But I certainly take his business positions very seriously. Listen,
there's 14 candidates. If we talked about everybody's policy, we would be the whole show would now be about Conservatives. So
we can only hope.
Thank you. Good of you to come in.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Rosie.
It. Thanks.